when I started writing songs, it was nothing more than just a creative outlet, and a way of dealing with, you know, issues I'd had growing up.
This is Rob Ruckus.
Hey, this is Kate Clover.
Hey guys, it's Nick Collins here from The Effect and Better Strangers.
Hi, my name is Madeline Rose.
Hey, it's Ben McKelvey.
It's Tim Howard here from Mike and the Mechanics.
Hello, I'm Amanda Lehman.
I'm Billy Harvey.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Casey Sampson from the band Twist Stop.
Hey, it's Tony from Fastball.
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Mitchell.
Hey guys, it's Matt here from the White Lakes.
You're listening to Almost Famous Magazine.
Come join us for this interview. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Hang right here on Almost Famous Magazine. Thank you so much for supporting the channel by subscribing, telling friends, fellow music lovers, people who are passionate about the art of creation. We appreciate it. And we're also thrilled today because we're going to bring you an up-and-coming rising artist that I think you're really going to like. His name is Moy Cohen. He's going to hang with us today. He is a British-Mexican singer-songwriter, and he's self-taught, which I can't wait to learn all about that. Started playing like piano and guitar and writing his own songs at like age of 13. I mean, that's incredible. Already fans and press are loving what he's doing, and they're drawing comparisons to people like Coldplay's Chris Martin. And honestly, if I didn't know better, his voice and lyrics are so well seasoned, and that of a musician who's actually had a much longer career than Moy. And I'm super impressed with that, and we're going to talk a little about that as we hang today. So I'm excited to dive in. Moy, welcome to The Hang.
Hello, Scott. Thank you so much for having me on to talk about my music. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn. I've been listening to your singles that are out, and I had a lot of questions. But okay, as I typically do, I want people to get to know you. I want to get to know you. We're going to become friends off of this. So I want to. We're sitting here, and I want to get to know my burning question. At such a young age of 13. Did music find you, or did you find music? What was that spark, and how did that passion get ignited?
So I guess it actually starts a lot before I was 13, right? I come from, on my mother's side, quite a musical family. My grandma is a cello teacher. So when I was around 5 or 6, I can't really remember the exact age, but I started learning the cello with my grandma. So I guess in that respect, I was kind of just always surrounded by music growing up. But then, I played the cello up until I was like 14, 15, but I started writing the guitar and piano because I started writing on the guitar and piano and like teaching myself the guitar and piano because I do think songwriting kind of found me at a point in my life where I had a lot of stuff that I'd gone through as a kid that just needed an outlet. And I always enjoyed writing poetry. And then for various reasons, I kind of got directed a bit away from the classical side of music, away from the cello. I didn't totally get on with the sort of academic side of music at school. And in order to keep my scholarship at my school, I was like, I want to start writing songs. I want to switch to the other side of music. And then I think there was an older student at my school who was a songwriter, and he had a concert at the school, and I went to watch it. And I'd always thought I wanted to write songs, but it was actually after that performance that I came home and wrote my first song on the piano first. I started playing the piano when I was 13 and then the guitar when I was 15.
So who were some of those early influences on you? Like, you went and saw that concert, it sparked something in you, and then you decided to create yourself, right?
Yeah.
And we all pull from different things. What are some of those influences? Who are some of those artists that you may have said, this fits for me, this is my kind of thing?
Yeah, so at that sort of time, or throughout all my childhood, I'd always have Coldplay on in the car with my dad. Songs like Green Eyes, Trouble, some of my favorites. So I think really my early songwriting drew a lot of inspiration from that. Also, I was a big fan of Ed Sheeran when I was that sort of age, and Tom Odell as well. So I think I started off with kind of those singer-songwritery influences, and then I also started loving more experimental stuff like James Blake, and I also love like artists like Frank Ocean, and like I have a very eclectic taste in music. I listen to pretty much everything. But definitely in these songs that I wrote when I was around 15, 16, a lot of it was, Chris Martin songwriting from Coldplay, a bit of Nick Mulvey in there as well. I love Nick Mulvey. And so many different styles of influence. And I think you can actually hear that when you listen to my music, that it's clear which songs were written at a time when I was listening to more Coldplay, or maybe at a time when I was sort of listening to more like poppy singer-songwritery kind of stuff. Yeah, it's interesting how it shows up actually.
Yeah, and your lyrical style and what you're writing about, I find it very interesting. A lot of people steer away from topics that are sensitive or ultra personal, or can create some controversy. But you kind of dived in for singing and writing lyrics about mental health awareness, and the words that you weave in your songs are really hit on that in a very unique way. How did that come about, and what drove you to kind of be very conscious about emotional and mental health?
So I think really, like I said, when I started writing songs, it was nothing more than just a creative outlet, and a way of dealing with, issues I'd had growing up. Like my parents had a pretty messy divorce, and, the implications that had in my life. I mean, I lived between England and Mexico, so kind of always felt a little bit displaced, not really knowing where to call home. And this sort of like first project I've been working on, these were all written kind of as self-help songs, and then, I mean, being vulnerable and sharing these lyrics that are so personal, to do it the first time, it was a bit of it was a bit daunting. I remember when I released my first single, Ocean, it was like, oh, I'm sharing quite intimate, personal parts of my life with people. But at the same time, it's actually also quite cathartic. And I think I really do believe it's important to have sort of those outlets, right? It's helped me massively deal with issues that I've had and to heal from the past, having this creative outlet through my music. And I mean, I think and I hope that in sharing, my story through my lyrics, people realize who listen, it's healthy to share with people, and you shouldn't keep things bottled up. And it's really actually, it helps you heal. I remember I think my grandma always used to tell me this quote from the kids' book Paddington Bear, I think it was like a problem shared is a problem halved, and I really do believe that.
No, that's great. I think that being vulnerable and being self-aware is one of the greatest ways of healing, and to really find your own personal center and getting it out. Don't hold it in, get it out, whether it's in writing lyrics or molding clay, no matter what, just finding a way that you can take the essence of that and bring it to the world. I think is very healing. So that's a great story. So now if I'm counting correctly, you have 5 singles out. I believe is the number 5 right now?
I think so. Yeah, I've lost count. It's 5.
The number of singles you have out, right?
Yeah.
And the newest being Childhood Photographs. You may not know this about me. I'm a photographer. Okay. Yeah, I'm a photographer. And I just recently, it was Father's Day, printed out a photo for my father. And it's been a long time since I've actually printed a photo. So Childhood Photographs, and I know what they can mean individually to people. Where did that all come from? Tell us about that song and the process of bringing that song to life.
So I think that song is one of the most organic, just like releases of energy that I've had writing a song ever. I kind of so I mentioned I live between Mexico and England a lot, so it's kind of about that sort of feeling of displacement, and because of that, when I was a teenager, I kind of used to find big changes quite hard to deal with, and I always yearned for some sort of stability in my life. And then I think it was in 2015, due to various circumstances, I moved in to live with my grandparents. And again, I had those same feelings of displacement. I was, not living with my parents. And this song, so I moved in, and my grandfather gave me this guitar as a gift, as a sort of like welcome gift. I still have this guitar. It's, as guitars go, it's nothing special. I'm not even sure what type of guitar it is, but to this day, it's my favorite guitar to play. It's just that one that I just chuck in the back of the car and take anywhere with me. But yeah, I got this guitar, and I sat down. I think it took a couple of days, and it just poured out of me. And if you listen to it, I'd never played the guitar before when I wrote this song, and it is literally just 2 strings on the guitar alternating, and then I'm sliding my hand up and down to kind of form these chords. And yeah, that's the story of how I wrote it. It took a couple of days, and when we recorded it then in the studio, it was very important to me that we kept it simple and stripped back like the original. And I also recorded, I also wrote the cello part in it, which is nice because it's kind of it just feels like completely me in my most sort of raw form, telling quite an honest, vulnerable story, and I don't know where the idea for the lyrics Childhood Photographs came from, but I just guess it's that sort of, that yearning for things to just stay the same, to have some sort of stability, to maybe go back to a simpler time before I was aware of all of these issues. Just, I don't know, in a certain way, just, yeah, a yearning for some stability, or just to be blissfully unaware again.
Well, it's a beautiful song. Now, I've watched the video you have. You're playing in the garden, and is that the same guitar, the one that you wrote it on in that video?
No, that's a different guitar. That's actually my granddad's guitar. And this is another reason why this song is now so meaningful to me. Is a couple of months ago, sadly, my granddad passed away, and I went back to England to say goodbye to him. And I was there living in my grandparents' house again, staying there, helping out my grandma sort out all of this stuff. And I just grabbed his guitar. I was like, this video doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be me playing the song on his guitar in the garden. And I think we did it in one take. A good friend of mine had a camera. He came round. We set it up. The microphone didn't connect because we didn't have the right cable. So I just put my phone down on the little garden bench in front of me. And and we just recorded it, and it came out in one take. And then the birds started. It's just magic. The birds started singing along. If you watch the video, it's amazing. I couldn't believe the bird song in this garden. That garden's always been such a sanctuary. It's such a wild garden, wild and overgrown in the most wonderful way. And I'm super happy with that video. I think it's one of my favorite videos I've done.
I think you could not have found a better way to honor your grandfather's legacy. I'm sorry for your loss. May his memory be a blessing, but you have immortalized him in that song for sure, in that video. I'll make sure that there's a link to that in our description for sure. So everyone watching, you gotta see this video. I mean, he's over in the UK and the weather's perfect and the birds are perfect. And it is a masterpiece, whether by intention or accident. Now, you just mentioned a very interesting word that leads us into something else that's coming up pretty soon. Your EP is titled Overgrown, isn't it?
Yeah.
What can we expect? What's coming out on Overgrown?
So Overgrown is a project I've been working on for 7-8 years now. The 5 singles I've released will be on there with some other new songs that are really also special and kind of all talk around. They're all about that same sort of topic, right? It's kind of it's a collection of songs that I wrote for myself, really, to help me through difficult times. And now I'm kind of releasing out into the world. And the name Overgrown is kind of a bit of a double entendre. It's on one hand, I think when you go through difficult situations, when you're growing up, you grow up quicker maybe than you would otherwise, and you end up being a little overgrown in your body. You're kind of more mature, taking on more responsibility emotionally. And then on the other hand, these songs, I wrote them so long ago. The process of recording them has taken such a long time, and they've just been sitting pot bound in a private link in my pocket, and now I'm releasing them to spread their roots in the world.
That's great. That's great. Let me ask you. You've lived with these songs for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Of them all, the 5 that you've released and these new songs that'll be on Overgrown as well, which song? And we may have just talked about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing this out there. Is the one that is kind of the one that is the one that you love and care about the most? It's the child you nurtured, right? It's that hand you held. It's that you took it from this idea to this song, and it doesn't have to be one of the singles. It could be one of the new songs, but it's the one that has the deepest roots in your heart.
I think so. Definitely, Childhood Photographs is truly like I said, I feel like it's me in my most, raw form. And I love the song. I love the way it sounds. I love the production. I love the story. I love the lyrics. And then also there's another song which is coming out on the EP called Hello Home. Both of the songs kind of, talking about that sort of, constant change is happening. Hello Home is very much about, the feeling when you come home and you've been away for a while and you can't place your finger on it, but you feel like a lot has changed. And I think that's also one of my favorite songs on the EP. It's also recorded in a very raw style, very simple, which is actually kind of a bit of a theme across the EP, I think. We tried not to do anything too crazy with the production. These songs are an introduction of myself to the world, and we just wanted to keep them as raw as possible.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because I wanted to talk to you about your approach to this production.
Mm-hmm.
There are many artists who are, look, we have more technology than we know what to do with, and it's so easy to throw every note and every sound into a song these days,
mm-hmm.
right? And all of these songs have had this very conscious approach to a simplistic place that I just don't hear much from
mm-hmm.
a lot of artists. How did you make the choice that that's how you wanted to approach them, and to kind of put your stamp on that simple sound? Because it's not simple in the idea that it's not well credited, but it's not noisy. It's a very peaceful, open type of sound, and I really appreciate the production you've done on this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I worked with a great producer in Mexico City. His name's Pablo Valero. He's a old friend of mine, and we worked together on this, and I think we definitely had it in our mind. We wanted to be using also as many real sounds as possible. The strings in some of the songs, we actually recorded it like full string arrangements, and then when we were producing it, we actually just took some of the elements out that we just didn't think we needed. And I definitely think, I learned a lot in the process of recording this EP. When I first started recording it, I was 17 years old, never been in a studio before. I learned a lot about the process. I also learned a lot about, making sure that my vision ended up in the final tracks. And it was a great learning process, and I'm looking forward to getting back in the studio soon, having learned everything from this process, and just knowing everything that I want to do. And it will be a lot more of a simple process for that reason. But yeah, the stripped back sound is again to a nod to kind of, these songs are simple. They are the story of an adolescent boy he's using music as an outlet, and it's all very emotionally raw, so I think therefore musically it kind of had to be as well. And there's a big in the mix, my voice in quite a few of the songs is front and center, so you can hear the lyrics, you can hear the story, and that was super important to us.
I will say, I consume a lot of music these days, and it's rare to find someone who's able to draw the listener in the way you have.
Thank you.
It's like hanging on every word because of where you put the vocal and the fact that it's understandable and that there's not a lot going on around it. So you are forced in a day and age where everyone's ADD and all over the place and, oh, look, a shiny object. You are intentionally forcing listeners to pay attention. And I really like that. And I think that's going to stand out for you in this release. And everyone, you really have to sit down. This is the kind of music where you want to listen with intention. This is not background music. Moy is not making background music at all. You gotta just get into a place and focus on this, and you will appreciate every bit of it because it's very different. And I'm not just saying that to throw compliments at you. I mean, it's genuine. This is really great stuff you're doing here.
Thank
I'm looking
you so much.
forward to great success with the single. I'm also looking forward to what you learned, because the production piece of what you learned, is that going to translate into similar production in the future, or did you learn some things that you can then craft and add a different fullness to your future production? Like, what was the big thing that you learned that you think is going to impact the next set of songs, the next recording?
Well, I think really the big thing I learned is that so I started recording when I was 17. I'd record when I went to Mexico to visit my family, and then I'd go back to England for school for a year. My voice would have completely changed when I came back. I would have lived with I'd lived with the songs, played them live, and settled on a different key, a different tempo. So we had to change a lot of stuff. So I guess the big things I've learned is kind of the preparation before actually getting into the studio. And also I think, for my next EP, I'm perfectly happy, probably just recording most of it in my bedroom. I've got a good mic. I can get to the studio for drums and for other instruments. But the music I'm working on now it's still got that sort of same core in it of lyrics being a main focus and the storytelling, but stylistically I listen to very different music than I used to, and I've developed a lot as a songwriter now. And as you can imagine, Childhood Photographs, I wrote it when I was 15. So the music I'm writing now is different. That's not to say better. I think it's just different. Still, you can hear it's my sound, but it's definitely evolved a lot and grown a lot with me. And because through songwriting, I have healed a lot from the issues I talk about in Overgrown. I definitely, I write some more love songs now, for example, and some more songs that, happy topics, but some of them still I've managed to make them sound quite melancholy, just with the chord structure or the phrase or the melody. I don't know. I love sad music, and I always gravitate towards writing, these chilled, melancholic songs.
Oh, that's great. I'm looking forward to the next time we get together and talk about those songs for sure.
Yeah.
Getting back a little to creativity, I'm always interested. Okay. If you had a chance, because you never know who's watching today, you never know who knows who. If you had the chance to get in a studio with one artist for a day and create, write, just hang and make something with, who would that artist be and why?
That's a good question. There's so many, but I think someone who's actually been, I'm not sure if I mentioned him earlier, but who has been a very big inspiration to me, not only because I love his music, but I just love the way he approaches the act of being an artist. I think with lots of people, there's a big focus on social media stuff like that. But he seems very honest and yeah, just very honest with the way he creates and with the music he shares. I think is Nick Mulvey. I've always loved his music. I think he's just like his guitar playing, his storytelling, his lyrics are really beautiful. And yeah, I would love to work with him.
All right. Well, everybody watching, if any of you know Nick, this is your chance. Let's make the connection. Let's make Moy's wish come true.
Amazing.
Are you going to be playing out anywhere in the near future? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I've just moved back to Sydney in Australia. So I will be definitely gigging as much as I can here. I've just landed 4 days ago, so I am in the process of booking places. But yeah, you can definitely, watch this space, and then I'll be posting all of my dates and stuff on my socials. When it happens, it'll be hard to miss. I promise you that.
Excellent. As I tell everyone at this point when we hang, I'm very serious about supporting art. And financially supporting artists that we listen to. So I'm a proponent for purchasing. Granted, you can listen to Spotify, but if you dig it, if you really want to immerse yourself in an artist, purchase it. So I advocate going out and buying Moy's singles and this upcoming EP. I believe there's a pre-order link, as a matter of fact, and we'll make sure everything's in the description below. But I also think it's super important that we share artists and we share people that we love, that we're listening to, so that people can learn about them and enjoy them. Who are a few artists that you're really digging right now? And those are people that maybe you have them on heavy rotation, on a playlist, or it's your workout music, but it's music that connects with you, that you feel that other people may connect with.
Yeah, so I guess I'm listening to a lot of kind of folky influenced stuff at the moment. Kind of quite a lot of guitar based stuff. Always listening to, like I said, Nick Mulvey, Ben Howard. But then I'm also listening to, I discovered like new artists every day. There's this great guy who I've been listening to. I think his name's Renau or something like that. He's looks like he's doing really well. Super up and coming, really interesting music. I kind of just settle on artists and I will just listen to them on repeat until, I don't know, I've had some of the same songs in my playlist for years. Trying to think of really, I guess it's just that I love Ben Howard as well. I think he's a big influence to me. He's another person I kind of grew up listening to his music. I guess really, everyone should support as many musicians as they can. I think it's especially now, it's harder to make money from streaming, right? So buying stuff really helps, buying merch and stuff like that. But yeah, and supporting people live.
Yeah, well, and Moy just moved to Australia, everybody. So he's gonna need rent money. So
I need to buy furniture.
So definitely buy.
I moved into an unfurnished apartment.
He needs some furniture. Maybe we can get people to. How about sponsoring some furniture for Moy? So support him. If you're living in Australia and you see that he's playing out, go see him. You never know. Maybe he goes home to Mexico or over to the UK. Catch him where you can. If you're ever in Dallas, Texas, I promise I will be there and I will bring people with me. But Moy, this has been fabulous. This has really been a great hang. I've enjoyed getting to know you, and I really, I just started listening to music. I'm looking forward to a long career of yours. And as a child whose parents were also divorced, I connect with the messages you have, and I totally understand where you're coming from. And I think it's really great that you're being that open with people, because I think it's so healthy, not only for you, but for the other people you share with. So I wish you all the best in your career, all the best with the singles, and thank you everyone who's hung with us to get a chance to know who Moy is. So thanks for coming back. We have so many great artists coming up. And leave comments, like this, share this, tell other people about it. Help us, help you in your love of learning about new artists. And we look forward to seeing you all on the Hang again pretty soon. So Moy, it was great to get to know you. Thanks so much for joining today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot.